The Commander refund mechanic they are getting ready to put in the game comes in January. And this is the video that's going to talk to you about what commanders to look for to refund and some you might want to keep, because we've got auxiliary skills, we've got support skills, we've got supreme strife. We have all these different components to the game and fighting where we need those support skills from commanders we might not even use. So stick around while we go through all this and we give you a guide on the Commander refund that's coming in January. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your boy, War Daddy Chatsky, and I do these videos all the time. If you enjoy these videos that I put out, if you get anything from them, if they're of any value to you, please throw a thumbs up on them, give them a like, and if you are not subscribed, consider doing so. Doesn't cost you anything, and if you want to get alerts when I do these types of videos, hit that bell, and you can get the alerts. Well, we got this last week, and so this has been out for a while now, and this was the face-to-face with developers. The question 2 probably had the most weight of any question. Now, there are a bunch of things in here talking about the Zenith badges and then the legacy Zenith skins and all that stuff, talking about matchmaking, talking about all kinds of stuff. Well, this particularly piqued everybody's interest. They have been giving us a ton of commanders in the game, and it's hard to keep up with. You know, I spend a lot, and I have 2 different types of accounts. I got a mid-spending account, and I've got kind of a whale account. And so it is hard, even on a spending account, to try to get all the commanders. You just can't get them all. It's just, there's not enough components in the game. You can't even spend enough to get them all. But they are doing something to help everybody out. This is not a commander swap. In previous KV or in previous updates they've done, and when you get out of KVK3, they give you a commander swap. It is allowing you to take a fully max commander, and it could be a gold key commander or whatever, and you could swap it. Well, this is different. This is a commander refund. Okay, so we have to go through the mechanics of the refund. In January 2026, okay, for all governors in Season of Conquest in the end game, basically after KVK4 and thereafter, during this event, governors will be able to select a commander and reset their skills at a certain cost. All sculptures previously consumed to upgrade that commander will be fully refunded to your inventory. So everybody's different. Trust me, you guys know me. I do all these account reviews. I always work with players in my Discord, and everybody's trying to figure out what they need to refund. Now, what you have to do, and this is just, everybody needs to do this. You need to go through some of your old commanders, okay? Especially for you players that have been playing for 2+ years, right? Or even 1 year or more. Go through your old commanders and see what you got. And what you do is you come over here, you click on the heart thing, and then you lift it up. You cannot see some of these old commanders. Some of the really old commanders, you cannot see what the cost was because that was recorded before 2020 in January or July of 2020. And so some of these commanders have that. But when they give you the refund function, you will be able to judge that. And what you want to see, the things that you want to see in there is this right here. You want to open this up and you want to see how many gold heads you put in and how many commander sculpture you had. Okay, so a lot of the wheel commanders like Herman and some of the older commanders, a lot of people are going to have sculptures of them because they've spun the wheel for them. But some you're going to have some gold heads. You know, some of these old MGE commanders. And so I was going through here, and what you need to do is identify which commanders have a lot of gold heads that you get max return from. And one of the ones that I found that was probably pretty good for me was Nebu. Okay, I've got 8 heads of Nebu. The rest is gold heads. So I can get those 682 heads back, and it's going to reset Nebu as a commander. Okay, and since I only have 8 sculptures of Nebu, I can't even level them up. So then you start to think, well, wait a minute, which commanders do I want to level up or to refund, and which commanders do I want to stay away from and keep their skills? Because when you have KVKs like Orleans with support with auxiliary skills, you have Heroic Anthem with support skills, you've got all these different kinds of KVKs where you can attach support skills and auxiliary skills to the current marches you have. So you want to keep some of those commanders because they have such good skills. So I put a tier list together for everybody. The reason why I chose Nebu, you got to look here. Nebu is a rally commander, okay? I'm not an archer rally player. All right. And so sometimes you're going to see some things. This is a pretty good stat stick for archers, but there are other archer commanders I already have that have great stat sticks as well. Okay, you come over here, this is a rally attack situation. You do 30% more counterattack damage. I'm not gonna ever need this. I'm running Attila, I'm running Pakal, I'm running all these different things, and it works out pretty well. Plus you're doing direct damage factor. Okay, and so when I want to run a tanky rally, you know, and I run it with Attila, I don't want to do any damage factor. That's a skill damage. It's not going to really do much for me. Okay. And when I come over here, these troops deal 15% more damage whenever their troop launches a base attack, and they have a 10% chance to reduce the target's rage by 100. Okay. So Nebu is not like an awful situation to be in when you are trying to maybe keep a commander because they have decent skills that you can put on, because 15% all damage is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And then you got a rage consumption situation or a rage reduction situation going on here with a 10% chance. Okay. So the reason why I picked Nebu is purely for this right here. The 682 gold heads. So if we look at this, I'm going to put this tier list together and we're going to talk about this just a little bit. Okay. Here is my tier list. This is the commander refund tier list. Okay. These are the commanders that at the top are great to refund. All right. They're absolutely great to refund. And when you see this overall, the first couple ones we're going to talk about is Honda. Honda's up here at the top. Now, Honda, you guys got to understand, has a lot of leadership stuff, but he doesn't have like crazy skills that you can go put on him. Let me go just look real quick. I've got him around here somewhere. Just look for those freaking antlers. There they are. Okay. So here you get 10% attack, 20% march speed, and you get an extra 30% attack when attacking another troop. That's a good stat stick, but there's better ones out there that are troop specific. Okay. When you come over here, this commander takes 5% less damage. And whenever you use an active skill for the next 2 seconds, the target's additional damage every second of 200. That's nothing. The target loses 50% march speed. We already have a lot of march speed mitigation. Okay. This commander troops gain 10% capacity. That's kind of okay. And then if you lose troops, you still ramp up the skill damage. That's a very niche, that's a very unique skill that I never use. I've never used Honda in any kind of auxiliary or support skill situation. All right. Chandra Gupta is the same way. He's a rally commander. You're not going to use any of his skills with Chandra Gupta for your rallies that you're running. I'm a Cav rally guy. I never use any Chandra Gupta skills. Okay. And mainly because, let me see here. Number one, where is my Chandra? Do I have him maxed? I believe I have him maxed. Where is he? Let me find him. Cavalry. And where is my Chandra? Is he down here? There he is. Okay. You take 10% less damage, and these are just for rallies. Okay, so you can't use this in the field. And his skills are kind of tied to his blessed skills in the Hidden Moon. And so any of these commanders, Takeda's another one that you tie him to. A lot of his skills are tied to his active skill or the effects he does from his active skill. As you can see here, this has to inflict the exhaustion. And when you have an exhaustion, so all these skills tie together. So Chandra's not great. He's definitely not great to use when you're trying to use him for auxiliary or support skills. Okay, so Chandra's a good one. Guan is a good one, really good one to use. Now Guan is a conquering commander. People don't realize this. He has one skill that doesn't even work because it's for attacking cities, and he just does not have that good enough stat stick. Harold's the same situation. You know, Harold's got the Stamford Bridge. He's got this stuff that's tied to some unique situations that you really can't even look at Harold and say, well, where's he at here? You can't even really look at Harold and say, well, oh, he just got good stat sticks, you can use him, because that's not what he does. Okay, he does have an infantry attack bonus, All right. And whenever the troop takes damage, there's a 10% chance to reduce the damage by 30% for cooldown of 5 seconds. All right. That's not all that great. You know, there's other stuff you can use. You got march speed here and you got a 30% attack. All right. But you got a berserker skill. Their troop gains the following buffs for the next 8 seconds. The troop loses 5% defense. You're not putting on a skill that's going to nerf your own defense. You're just not going to do that. All right. You have stand for bridge. This does not work. This does not work unless he is the actual commander. So if you use this for a support or an auxiliary skill, it does not actually work with the stand for bridge where you see the axes flying and everything. That does not work out very well. So obviously Herald's a really good choice. A Monitori, same thing. We don't use a Monitori for anything. She's an archer garrison. Do not use her for anything. Now there are some garrisons and rallies that you got to pay attention to, especially if you're a rally garrison player yourself. You'll use some of those. And so with a Monitori, no go, daddy-o. I ain't even messing with it. Yadviga's the same way. She doesn't do anything for the Cav garrison that's going to help you in support or auxiliary skills. You want to look at skills from like Hera or YSS. All right. I don't even have Hera and YSS on here because I would not even consider refunding those commanders. Also, I don't have gold key commanders in here because odds are you have a lot of those sculptures of those commanders. You don't have gold heads into them. So that's how I kind of rank this thing out. Okay. You get down into the really good, and then of course you get some more rally commanders. There's Gilgamesh. Nobody uses Gilgamesh for auxiliary and support skills. Nobody does. He has some that you could kind of maybe use. You know, he's got a good 30% archer bonus. All right. And he does 20% more damage to troops that have less than 50% units remaining. That's a pretty good skill, but there's other archer commanders that have this type of skill. The rest of this stuff is attack bonuses, and you're stacking up different things with the bloodlust stuff. And then you've also got the blood craving that does the healing effect when you're able to inflict damage to garrisons that heal. Okay. We really don't need this. We really don't even want to mess with this for support. Very niche, very, very niche. So if you have a bunch of heads in Gilgamesh, you can easily refund him for plenty of gold heads back. And so Gilgamesh is a good one. Cyrus is the same way. He's got so many weird, finicky skills that it's okay to maybe use him in some situations, but honestly, you won't miss it if you don't have any auxiliary or support skills from Cyrus, okay? Boudica's another one. Now, this is what's interesting about Boudica. She was always really pretty good when it came to support skills, and the main reason why is because that she had some of the things going on for her that were actually really pretty good with certain situations. You got an attack bonus for archers. They really don't need that. The march speed's okay, and you have an attack defense, or I'm sorry, an archer defense bonus when you get under 80% units. Okay, that's not bad, but if the commander's troop is on the map, you're going to take 25% less skill damage. That used to be amazing. Okay, that was at the almost Saladin level and Ramsey's level. Anytime you're mitigating skill damage. Well, here's the hard part with that. Not a lot of marches do skill damage anymore. That's just the way it is. Not a lot of marches do skill damage anymore, and you don't have to worry about just getting pummeled with skill damage in the field. You've got some archer marches, and you got Chen. All right. People are going away from Ragnar with infantry. People are going away from Huo and the skill damage cavalry marches. So this is not near as valuable. And you'll see that also with some others on here as well. Okay. And so you also got a 5% more damage to infantry, and you heal slightly when it troops. So listen, but there's a reason why Boudica's not used anymore, because her skills aren't even that great anymore when it comes to this. So she's a good commander to use your refund on. Nebu, who we talked about, same thing. I'm not going to use him for any rally skills that he has. He has that counterattack one, which is interesting, but I'm not going to mess with Nebu. Zeno is a good one to use too. However, if you are a rally or garrison, this is the one caveat when it comes to Zeno and some of these garrison commanders. When it comes to Zeno, she's got this thing right here. okay, you get 20% health and 20% attack, and you do 10% more damage to enemy rallied armies. You just got to look out for that. If you got Xeno maxed and you don't garrison with infantry anymore, then you can get rid of her. You can refund her because you're not going to use this. All right, you're just not going to use it. And so from that standpoint, you don't have to worry about that. However, if you garrison with Gorgo and Hector, or Gorgo and Toku, and you use infantry garrisons, you might consider keeping Xeno, because you will love this when it comes to the auxiliaries and the support skill. But overall for the field, not much there. She's a good one to use. Flavius, same thing. He's got some interesting dynamics with some of his skills that garrison commanders for infantry might use. Other than that, if you're a field player, don't worry about resetting Flavius, okay? Same thing with Janziska. He's got the same kind of situation going on. If you have him maxed, but you don't no longer garrison with cavalry anymore, then you don't have to worry about. And then we've got XY, all right? And I put XY in the good but not great category, because there's not a lot of things that XY does here. Let me kind of help you here when it comes to XY. Let's go look at him. He honestly needs to be a combo commander. And there's a little bit of a caveat to this, because there's some commanders on here you might not want to use when it comes to refunding, because they might get converted over to a combo commander if they're cavalry skill damage, or they might get converted over to smite if they're infantry skill damage. So you just have to watch out, but nobody knows that. That's like something we can't plan for. So in the meantime, you look at some of the things that he has, and it's just not all that great with his kit. Okay, he does a little bit of a damage factor there. You're not running skill damage wedge for cavalry much anymore, and then when you're doing damage, when you're on the map, you do the rage. You take 50 less rage, which is actually pretty good, but you deal 5% more damage, but you lose 10% march speed. This is a give and take type situation with his skill. So he's a good one. The only reason why I don't put him up as great in the great category, the only reason why I don't put XY up there, is because XY, who knows? He might be a combo commander one day. You never know. But if you have heads into him, and that's the best commander you've got heads into, you don't have to worry about it. You go ahead and refund him, get the heads back, so you can go invest in the new hotness right now. Okay. Now, we get into the only if needed. Okay, so now you have Leonidas in here. Leo is really he's one of my favorite commanders, just because I love the historical figure. However, Leo is not in a situation where he's going to be used at all in the end game at all. However, he's got some weird skills that are really good. Second skill is really good. Okay, third skill kind of okay, but then the fourth skill, this is what I love. All right, whenever your commander's troops are on the map, whenever it launches a basic attack, you have a 25% chance to gain a 10% bonus to all damage dealt for 5 seconds. This effect can stack up to 4 times, and its duration resets whenever another stack is gained. And so from there, you got to think about this. Okay, you can get 40% damage while your troops are on the map. That is a great situation for combo commanders, because they can run that damage stack up very high. So he has got a lot of cool things that he does with his fourth skill. So I leave Leo in that only if necessary, only if needed category. You also have, let's see here. You also have Artemisia on here as well. Artemisia's got some cool functions with hers. You've also got Khan. Now I got Khan and Takeda here, okay, because a lot of their skills are reflected off one another. First of all, Khan's got some good stat sticks that you can use for support skills and auxiliary skills, but overall, he doesn't have anything just broken, busted that we all love. Takeda, kind of the same way, except a lot of his skills, much like Chandragupta, a lot of his skills are tied to his burn effect that he does on his active skill. So you can't even really use it, but he's got some stat sticks and things that you can use. Then we've got Sargon. Okay, Sargon is only if needed, because Sargon has got a situation to where he does some cool stuff. He does have an infantry 10% attack and 20% health. That's a pretty decent stat stick, but you inflict this odd. You're not really doing much of that because nobody's doing a whole bunch of skill damage. However, his third skill is pretty interesting. He gains 15% march speed, and you deal 10% more damage when you're on the map. which is pretty good. Then you have a 10% chance to gain a 30% bonus damage dealt for 3 seconds with an 8-second cooldown. This is a skill that we all like to use in Supreme Strife or in Siege of Orleans when we can put auxiliary skills on our commanders, okay? So this is pretty good because you can use that for your smite marches, no problem. Has nothing to do with skill damage, all right? His 4 skill is a little bit weird. You do get 10% defense, but then you have this odd stack situation. And so from that standpoint, it is really, really interesting. So there's kind of your Sargon situation, and that's why he's only if needed, because he's got some cool support skills. Your caution is Tommy. Tommy's got the poison stacks as she still does, and it's really, really good. Ramses, of course, is there. Ramses has got a good skill damage mitigation, plus he's a massive stat stick for archers. Same thing with Saladin. Saladin's got a really good skill damage mitigation. It's like 30%. We used to run it all the time in HA. Let me just pull it up for you and look at it. When you go through here, let me see. Where is my Saladin? I will look at him, find him. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay. This skill right here is one of the favorites we always used in HA. Well, we don't use it near as much anymore because it's really only great for skill damage rallies. Like if you're a garrison and you're getting archer rallies, this is still pretty good. And you get 20% less counterattack damage. That's not great in the field, the less counterattack damage. It's really good in a garrison or a rally. So there's ways that you can still use Saladin, okay? But overall, like if this was just a couple of years ago and we didn't have smite and combo, Saladin would be off the board completely. You do not want to take him off. But now that that third skill is a little bit different, it just holds true. All right. Okay, and when we come down to Joan, when you see this, Joan is got some things that she does. And so we always kind of caution people about maybe refunding Joan, because even if you're not using her in the field, she does have some interesting situation with so much march speed that she has. And then she also has a bonus to normal damage, okay? This is actually pretty good if you're using some smite or combo marches and you're running out of support skills or auxiliary skills. It's something that can be used. And so her fourth skill, though, this 100% trigger, the Sacred Banner, that does not work. Obviously, if you have that as a auxiliary skill in any KVK format or Supreme Strife or something, that is not going to trigger the primary commander to go off again, or it's not going to trigger the secondary commander or anybody to go off again. So that doesn't even work. So you do use a little bit of caution, mainly because, okay, it's Joan. Can they maybe make her a combo commander? Hell, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. You get into Edward. Edward is a caution. Edward has got crazy stat sticks. Crazy. He's got like 30% health for archers, which is really good. And then you have your rally commanders over here. I caution against that because there's things you can use with your rally commanders. We use them in Supreme Strife. Justinian has got some cool stuff he does. Tarek gives us a round effect, which is really, really good. And Tarek does some other things with his kit. Pakal, of course, is super tanky and super prickly. If you put him some of his auxiliary skills or use him as a support skill, you can use him as well. So just be cautious there. If you don't run rallies for cavalry or infantry, and you do have these commanders maxed and you just haven't used them in so long, you can look at refunding those, but just be cautioned. That's why I have it over here. Okay. And so from there, let's see, we come down into the last resort. All right. The main thing with these commanders here is that they're still being used today. This is like your last resort. All right. If you're an archer player and you are running like a one archer march, or let's say you're not an archer player. Let's just say you're running one archer march and you're running Chin with Zuge. All right. And you've benched your Herman. You're not running Zuge and Herman anymore. You could probably get away with Herman. He's got some stat sticks for auxiliary skills that are pretty good, but that's a last resort. Alex, same type of deal, especially for newer players who might have Alex max. You might just keep him and run him with Luce, or if you need the heads to go get Luce, then Alex can be somebody you can refund. All right. And if you're in the late game and you're running, 2 infantry marches and you're running BQ with Philip and then Wallace and Luce, you might not need Alex, but I put him as a last resort in case you have to have him to get gold heads to go max whatever the new hotness is, okay? And so William, the same way, still very usable today, mainly in a role with Arthur. You know, his kit is still really good, and with Arthur, he's still really good. However, nobody's running skill damage anymore. And if you have other things now with all these new Cav commanders that have come out, and like a Hector that's versatile, that runs combo, and Gang and Achilles and all that, and you don't want to run William anymore, you can refund him last resort, okay? Same thing with Huo and Belly, all right? People are still using Huo, Belly, and Nevsky, okay? So I put them as last resort. I don't know, guys. If they come out with something crazy on the next formation for skill damage, and all of a sudden it makes Huo great again, I don't think that'll happen. But I just caution, like, you do these as your last resort. I still love Belly. I still would run Belly with Arthur if I'm swarming something down. I love Belly's kit and what he does, even though I don't really run skill damage for Cavs anymore. William Wallace, I wouldn't do William Wallace. That's a last resort. That's if you're running like one infantry march and you want to go max. You want to go max the next infantry field commander that's coming out next month, and you have the heads on William Wallace. You don't even use them. Maybe you can with him. Ragnar and CPO, same thing. People are benching these guys left and right, and I wish they would convert these guys to smite commanders, but they're not. And so from there, last resort. If you really want gold heads and you're like, I'm not running Ragnar again, you can refund Ragnar, okay? If you really want gold heads, you're like, I'm never running CPO again. If I do run a skill damage infantry, I run Ragnar with Philip. Then you can get rid of your CPO, okay? And then you've got Nevsky. That's a last resort, not only from the fact that, you know, some people still run him in the field, but not really. It's more for the fact that he's got some of the most broken skills that are phenomenal in these. His force skill and auxiliary skills is just incredible. He pumps up the skill damage on a proc situation up to 60% more skill damage. Like, we run that in Supreme Strife. I put that AUG skill on my Chin with Zuge, and oh my god. Or you put it on Chin with YSG. It's just out of control. And so that's why the Nevsky there is of last resort. So that just gives you an idea, guys, of exactly how to play this thing when you're looking at the different commanders and what to do. If you're a garrison commander, just be cautioned. If there's a support skill or an auxiliary skill that you can use in some of these KVK formats, just be cautious of refunding these commanders and then losing out on maybe one of those skills that you used. Same thing with rallies. If you don't rally much anymore, or if you rally archers and you're looking at Justinian, you probably don't need him. If you're rallying archers and you're looking at Tark, you probably don't need him. But if you're still running cav rallies and infantry rallies, you might want to take into consideration that there's some AUG skills here with these guys that you might still want, okay? And of course, the last resort down here, you guys know that. I wouldn't advise that, but it's a last resort. And the goal here is to get you as many gold heads as possible, because there's 5 commanders right now. There are 5 commanders that are dominating the game. And these are the must-max commanders. And it's basically my investment tier list are these 5 guys: Arthur, BQ, Chin, Luce, and Achilles. Those are the 5 commanders I say you got to max. Must max guys. Got to max them. And so from there, if you don't have those guys maxed, or if the new infantry smite commander ends up being just crazy broken like Luce and BQ are, then you want to use your gold heads to get the best of the best and exchange it. And if you miss out on some AUG skills from some commanders you might have refunded or something, then so be it. At least you got the best of what's coming. So the refund situation is good for maybe some older players, not necessarily great for young players, but doing this at least helps everybody. Give them the opportunity to get gold heads back so they can go invest in all the new commanders that have come out. So if you enjoyed this video, throw a thumbs up on it, give it a like, give me your comments down below. You can also join my Discord and start those conversations there. And I can even help you. If you want to go in there and ask the anything channel or ask Chad anything channel, ask what you've got and what you're kind of weighing between, and you can get good advice from me or anybody else in my Discord. So with that, we hope you have a great day, broskis.